The big difference between this Confintea and the Confintea before has more to do with the overall United Nations context. In the 1990s, remember, United Nations was still a key theater for international cooperation with all the summit that we have on environment, on population, on women in Beijing, on social development in Copenhagen, on habitat and so forth. So that Confintea was really a learning, linking element between all this. And at that time, the neoliberalism was not as strong. Today, we face a completely new context of neoliberalism in the world. So that the mood of countries to move forward for popular education, for emancipatory education, for citizenship education, for enlarged vision education and training, it's much more, to put it diplomatically, prudent. So in this conference, we had to counteract this trend of reducing adult learning to functional, short-term adaptation of adults to a new context. And this is it was a very big challenge for this Confintea 6, which means that one of the big differences for example, in this very conference, it was clear that there was a huge tension. The Latin American countries pushed forward in a very interesting way in this conference, but there was resistance or passivity. You know, we had very few ministers from Europe, very few ministers from Asia. So it was not as, from participation perspective, the same kind of conferences. In this Confintea, we succeeded at the end to have a result which is not too bad. We went forward, but not as much forward as we thought. For example, the importance of popular education. For example, the importance to have benchmark, to do real monitoring. The importance to invest more in all areas of adult learning and so forth. We went forward, but not as forward as we thought, as we wanted. So that we have a huge task now with progressist country, like many countries in Latin America. And if I say progressist country, I mean it. That a country who believe in the right for people to develop themselves in order to develop society. It's not a narrow ideological perspective when I speak of progressist country. It's a very large perspective of believing in the capacity of people. So we hope that through this, you know, you have to know that this conference took place in Brazil out of lots of pressure from our movement, because it was supposed to be done in an Asian country where we were less sure to have big support. Last night, and I need to say that if we succeed in the drafting committee, it's because of fantastic pressure from member states from Latin America who fought to have enough space to make sure, enough time that we need to take into account. So this context is very important for the future in the world. We see it in all areas of life. Latin America has a very crucial role at this moment to resist this very dangerous neoliberal orientation. And for me, this is very concrete, it's not ideological. We are afraid that the right to learn will be reserved only to very highly qualified people. And this will be a catastrophe for the world. You know, in Africa at this moment, we have no money for adult literacy. And this will be catastrophic. So we will have to fight a lot, but we went, we were present in this Confintea to go forward, and we will go on. But the struggle for the right to learn is a struggle for the survival of society. It's true for food production, it's true for environment, it's true for the right to work, it's true for women to be able to live with joy without fearing violence. And those issues will not be solved if we have no space to go on learning. we will fight for this. But we are very, very, very upset by how countries are reluctant to go in that direction. This CONFINTEA did some progress compared to CONFINTEA 5, but not that much. But taking into account the context in which CONFINTEA 6 took place, we did succeed well. And this is that we have to acknowledge. You cannot just abstractly compare CONFINTEA 5 to CONFINTEA 6 if you don't compare. You know, at this moment in the world, the real United Nations is the G8. It's not the United Nations. So the United Nations is a weak organization. The very example of this is that many delegation of countries in this CONFINTEA were, and this is not pedantic, but were a low-level delegation. There were no minister and deputy minister for lots of countries. And this was not the case. And this is not the fault of UNESCO. UNESCO fought a lot for this. But it is precisely the fact that we are in a new context at the world level at this moment. The same is true in this conference about the possibility to make the link with the other UN organization. In CONFINTEA 5, they were all there. WHO on health, FAO on food production, ILO on work, UNICEF on women and children, UNDP on development, and the Commission of Human Rights for Prison Education and so forth. In this CONFINTEA, only FAO was there. And this has not to do with the effort of UNESCO. UNESCO Institute for Life fought a lot for this. But that's the new context. UN is a weak network. So it's no more the theater that we had in the 90s. And this is very important for us, social movement, for the right to learn, to understand this context. The creation of Forum in Brazil is an extremely important initiative for one central reason. In adult learning, the expression of the social demand by possible learners is the most important policy dimension, upstream policy dimension. We cannot have only provision policy, because the adults will not participate to learning if they don't have space to come out of their fear, to come out of their difficulty, to come out of their lack of information. They will only come to learning if upstream from provisions we have forum to make known what is possible, for people to have a say, and this is an extreme, and we have seen this. And this is true also. Adult learning is very weakly institutionalized. And because of that, the budgets are up and down. In Brazil at this moment, the budgets are up in the beginning of the forum, and now the budget is a bit down compared to the need for adult literacy. We need more budget for adult literacy. You know, we still have in Brazil the same number of illiterate people as we had 10 years ago. And the forum is very important to express that in a positive way, because it's normal. The school is so well institutionalized that the budget of school is in the cement. But the budget of adult education is always loose. So when there is a crisis, it's the first thing that falls down. So the forum is very important to recall to the government and to the Ministry of Education the importance. And this is a very good instrumental device in order to help the government to maintain the investment. It's not a critical, it's not to criticize the government, it's just to help to, because it's a different context. It's a weak institutionalization that we have. It's like environmental education, the same case.